Hello and welcome to this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection Game Day. I'm your co-host, Jeremy Qualls. My co-host, Tate Matthews, is not with me, but I have improved on looks and in knowledge today with Josh Goodwin, head coach of the Old Sparty Lady Spartans down at Summit High School. Thank you, Josh, for joining me today. Tate is on assignment in the Bahamas. But we're going to talk a lot of basketball today. I'm glad Josh could join me. We're going to get in-depth on the girls' side especially, talk about each of the girls' teams in the WCS Sports Conference and get in-depth right now as we're headed into the meat of the conference schedule going on. But first, before we get to it, let's talk a little bit about football. We say every week, Josh, that we're finished with football, but it just keeps coming back to us. The Border Bowl, the Kentucky versus Tennessee All-Star Game was this week held at the University of the Cumberlands in Kentucky, and we had several of our sports conference coaches and players participating in this game. Scott Blade, the head coach of the Independence Eagles, was the head coach for the Tennessee side, as well as Brian Rector and Will Hester, Centennial and Ravenwood's head coaches, joined Coach Blade as assistant coaches for the Tennessee side. Also featured Ben Beavers, of a defensive player, and Dom Childress from Indy, and also had primetime Deion Sanders from Centennial. Deion actually threw for a touchdown on a reverse pass. Tennessee scored. The Tennessee side group scored with 28 and a half seconds left in the game, and in prime WCS fashion, we went for two and did not get it. Came up a little bit short. Kentucky 33, Tennessee 32. And it was funny, Josh, I was talking to Coach Hester about that. He made it clear that Coach Blade decided to go for two, and I was like, right, well, I think we've revisited this for the state championship game. I said, I bet you were down there yelling, go for two. But anyway, it was a fun time for those guys. It showcases our athletes and our coaching staffs, and it's kind of a neat thing for those guys to do. I really think this is the last All-Star game. We have gone through the U.S. Army All-American game. We've been through the East-West Tennessee game, and now we've gone through the Border Bowl. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is the last football game played of the season, I think. Moving on into some more WCS Sports Conference action, we have our Wrestling State Championships going to be hosted here at the Williamson County Ag and Expo Center at January the 30th. We expect several of our teams, including Summit. If you don't mind, speak real quickly about Summit and the wrestling efforts that they have going on down there right now.
They've done really well. I mean, they've kind of come in and turned that program around. A lot of kids are involved. They're doing a really good job getting out and getting a lot of wins. I think they had a tough week with Independence last week, but they've done a great job just kind of representing our school and coming on strong.
If I'm not mistaken, that might have been their first loss, I think, of the season.
I believe it was. I mean, they're winning. I think they've won over 20 matches to this point.
Yeah, and they had a big match, an invite match this past week, if you will, with a lot of teams coming in. Page actually it was invited to this thing. They were the only AA school there. They play 17th out of the 20th, so Page is doing well. Summit's doing well. Brentwood, our wrestling programs right now, I expect, especially in the dual meets, that will be challenging for the state championship and probably have some individual winners along the way. So I look forward to that. That also, like I said, will start on January the 30th here at the Williamson County Ag and Expo Arena. Also, moving on, coming up, another sport that's probably not as popular, if you will, or maybe not as in demand as the other sports, but bowling. New to the TWSAA and WCS Sports Conference, we have some good bowlers here. Right now, Summit, the actual team themselves, are qualified in for the sectionals to get into state right now.
Right.
You want to talk about the bowling team down at Summit?
Dee Montgomery's done a great job getting them ready and getting out there, and they've won a ton of matches. If I'm correct, they won district, and that's the first time I think we've won district since moving into the AAA conference.
Well, that's awesome. I tell you what, Creed, Newt, next time we need to get us a Old Sparty bowling ball. We'll put it dead center for us. Old Sparty winning in the district there in bowling, and also Brentwood also participating with a tough, with a good group there. Right now, Matthew Butler as an individual from Summit outside of the team will also be going there. He averages 209. 60.67, and Cameron Dole's averaging 230.86. Now, I've done a lot of bowling in my time, but averaging 209 and 230 and on a perfect scale of 300, that's pretty good right now.
Oh, yeah.
So that's bowling. It starts on January 22nd. In the regionals, the state championship will start on January 22nd. 2nd. The regionals begin for the state qualifying rounds January 19th. That will be in Rutherford County. Now, moving on, let's talk about basketball. Basketball right now, we are in the meat of our schedule. Christmas is over. Christmas tournaments, that lull of going into Christmas can either help, hurt, or decide not to play. Either way, you have to knock the rust off. And right now, these crucial games, a lot of these games that are being played right now can dictate your season, even though it's this early in the season.
Right, we're going to determine seeding a lot going in the next 2 weeks. I think on the girls' side, you've got a big log jam towards the middle and bottom of that, and you can either be 7th place where you're matched up with an opponent you don't want to see in the first round, or you could bump yourself up to that 3rd or 4th spot and have a favorable matchup going forward. On the boys' side, it seems there's more of a log jam up towards the top. So they're fighting for that number 1 seed, number 2 seed to try to get a favorable matchup.
I'm glad you said that. Let's talk about the importance of seeding. Basketball season is broken into 3 seasons. You have your first part of your season there, November to basically December. And then you have your Christmas schedule going into the middle of January into February, and then all of a sudden you start your district schedule. And none of it matters until the very end.
Absolutely.
Because the last place team beats the first place team going in, it doesn't matter, they're going home. Now, in order to get there, you have to really strategically place yourself and win some of those games to get yourself seated in that. Now, let's turn the dial back. Let's say our season has not gone to plan. What are some things that we discuss in practice leading up to district tournament, 2 weeks out? Your destination is last place. I'm not saying that the Summit Lady Spartans are there. I'm just using this as a hypothetical. What's some things, Josh, that you may talk to your team about and get preparation for the district tournament in that first round?
You've really got to worry less about wins those last few weeks. You've got to build confidence and start to build them up to the point where they believe that anything's possible. And you emphasize the point that it only takes one time, one night, one game. And if you're constantly building to that point, your goal is to get better every day. It's not to be the best team on Tuesday or Friday this week, but if you continue to build to where you're getting better a little bit each and every day, that all it takes is in 2 or 3 weeks, you have a great day, and you maybe have the team that you're facing is a little off. It's a perfect recipe for an upset.
Absolutely. I can remember back, and I hate to reference back, but one of my wonderful years at Marshall County, we were going into district tournament 5-22. For the last 2 weeks, we knew we had last place sewn up, and that's not a good thing to brag about. But it's like you said, we knew who we were facing in the first round. We sold out. We watched video from every team possible, and our kids bought into the fact that they knew every single nuance of what every single play, of what every single kid did on that team. And we kind of started a new offense that we didn't work on in the regular games. And it was almost, when we went through those games, it was just like a practice for us. But when it came that first night, we were so ready to play and so prepared that we ended up being in the district championship game against Tyler Smith and Giles County, who won it that year.
Right.
And we'll not discuss how the district championship game went. We were happy to be there. We moved on to the regions. And it's just one of those things that you have to make the kids believe that they can win any given night. So with that being said, let's look at our Division II group. Right now, Fairview's sitting at 4-10, 3-6 in the district. Coach Wayne McGowan right now is trying to get his team prepared. Had a good win by 2 over Waverly last week, 31-29, going into their Creekwood undefeated. Camden's undefeated. That's a pretty large group. You guys have seen Fairview. Let's get a little brief rundown on Fairview.
Well, Coach McGowan's doing a good job. He's one of those, he's constantly building. So over the past 2 years, I've seen that they're starting to build confidence, starting to get players. They're young. The offense is coming around. They like to kind of get up and play a little more pressure defense, which is good for them because they let their defense try to create some offense. But they've improved throughout the season. You see that with a win over, was it Waverly?
Waverly. Mm-hmm. Well, and you see, like you kind of hit it on the head, all year long, the point value for that team has not been extremely high. We're looking at high 20s, mid 30s, maybe even 40. So defense right now is probably what Coach McGowan's looking at, trying to keep that score under 40. We used to have a saying, first 1 to 40 wins always, and that probably holds true with him. Moving on page, Coach Billy Mooney right now sitting at 3-11, 0-1. I've had an opportunity to see those guys play. Their girls are, they have 4 or 5 players averaging 7 to 5 point range. Lost a heartbreaker, 35-31 to Marshall County, who I've also got to catch over the Christmas break. So I've seen those guys play as well. So, Paige and Coach Mooney right there, 3-11, probably not where they want to be, but in that district, if you look at that district right now, and I know you guys have faced CPA. I saw you play over Christmas against CPA. They're undefeated. I feel very confident right now that Page could probably step in, get a win over Marshall and Spring Hill, and split with Marshall there, and find themselves in that third slot away from last place where you don't want to face CPA.
Right. Page has done a good job. Coach Mooney always does a good job. They've got a lot of young players. I think they start several freshmen and sophomores. So they're kind of in that phase where they're building for the future. They had a great team 2 years ago, and it's kind of it fell off from there, but they started really young. And that district is a district where it's going to be tough to challenge CPA. That's going to be a tough matchup for anybody. But like you said, trying to battle into that 2 or 3 spot to give yourself a chance going into the tournament is very important.
Yep, and moving on into our Division I ranks, the Big Six. Had an unbelievable game Friday night. It was televised by Channel 30 there, and the crowd was unbelievable. I mean, it was standing room only at the Nest at Ravenwood. Brentwood, Battle of the Woods, round 1 came in. Brentwood came in right now in second place. Actually, Mariska Harris was tied for first place, and the Ravenwood Raptors were tied for first place as undefeated at that current time, 4-0 in the district with Dixon. So that was a big game. Second place pretty much on the line there. If Brentwood wins, to take the heads up over second place. If Ravenwood wins, it pretty much solidifies who's going to try to get that second slot. And I'm telling you right now, the Brentwood student section came out. It was packed, unbelievable atmosphere. Both games went into overtime, 39-35. The winner went to the Brentwood Lady Bruins. In overtime, Boozer, Roy, and Shaylee all had pretty big buckets there to go ahead. What do we know about the Lady Bruins right now?
Well, I think those 3 names you said at the end are key for them. 3 big-time scorers. Boozer and Shealy can really shoot it. They kind of, if you're going to help on Roy or you're going to help in the post, you're going to have to leave one of them open. And that's a tough thing. You don't want to give good shooters open looks. But Jenny Roy, who's committed to Belmont, she's a difference maker.
Yeah.
She's one of the few players who really dominates a game without scoring, 20, 25 points. And that's a huge compliment. She dominates it defensively by drawing help and kicking to wide open shooters. Very aggressive, rebounding. She does all the little things that you want your players to do.
That's right. We talk about her week in and week out, and I've got an opportunity to see her play, and my first thought was, man, as I was expecting more points, but then once I recap and looked at the game back, I'm thinking, man, this is what she brought to the table. She brought the defense to the table. She got the most crucial rebounds towards down the stretch that could happen. And the team that they were playing at that current time was pressing. It was Franklin at the time, and Franklin was trying to make a little run there, and the ball was in her hands,
Absolutely.
Breaking the press. So they bring so many things to the table. Belmont is found a diamond in the rough with her, and that moves into 16-2, 5-1 right now in the district. Second place right now for them. They have their only loss to Dixon. Centennial sitting at 6-7, 0-5, looking for their first win in the district. I know that Coach Hill right now lost just a heartbreaker to Indy the other night. That's a huge game. Lost 46-48 to those guys. And I know that Coach Hill, like I said, is still looking for that first loss, but never know. Anything can happen going into the district tournament.
They're a very scrappy team, and they're somebody you don't want to play because they've been so close for so long. You're losing at the buzzer. You're losing by 2. You're losing by 3. They're kind of scratching the surface, and at some point in time, they're going to break through. Coach Hill does a very good job. They're always prepared, and I think they're going to be tough moving forward.
I guarantee it. I mean, I think right now that any given night, I know that you and your wife and everybody has mentioned Dixon to several degree about how good they are, but from second all the way to the bottom is just going to be completely just wide open,
right,
regardless of what records are. We're gonna come back from break real quick. When we come back from break, we're going to talk about the Battle of the Goodwins, round 1, how that went. We're going to finish our in-depth conversation with basketball with Coach Josh Goodwin. This is WCS Game Day. We'll be right back.
My book is Where the Sidewalk Ends. I like this book because the poems in it are really funny, and I like the illustrations, and they make me laugh.
Hello and welcome back to WCS Sports Connection Game Day. I'm your co-host Jeremy Qualls, and like I said earlier, Tate Matthews is on location somewhere. We have improved tremendously with Josh Goodwin from the Summit Lady Spartans. I'm glad that Josh is here. We're talking basketball. We're talking girls basketball right now currently. Let's move into the last little bit of the conference. Let's talk about Indy right now. Indy is sitting at 3-16, Josh. Got their first district win of the night. They're 1-4 in the district. Hit the last second shot there to beat Centennial 46-48 at Centennial. I know that Coach White is thrilled about that, to get in the winning column in the district and get themselves kind of in position to try to make a move here late.
Absolutely. They're moving forward. 3-16 is a little misleading. They played a very tough schedule. They played Riverdale and Oakland, two of the top teams in the country. So that's kind of what led to that. But making the last second shot, getting their first win against Centennial can kind of get the ball rolling for them as they move forward into the second half of the district.
Absolutely. You never know what happens, what kind of attitudes, what kind of team chemistry can come off that, and vice versa. On the other side, you get a loss like that could be detrimental to the rest of the year.
Right.
So just one of those things, maybe not the rest of the year, but how it affects is you could lose a game like this that you should win possibly, and it could affect you for the next two games. And those two games are games you should have won. Next thing you know, you're sitting in fifth place versus second place, and then all of a sudden your back's against the wall going to district tournament. So be interesting to see how this plays out between Indy and Centennial later down the road, see if Indy continues their winning streak. Ravenwood, 12-4, 4-1, lost to Brentwood in overtime, and the Battle of the Woods won at home 39-35. Moves currently into third place right now. Downey hits a layup to send it into overtime. She finished with 10 points. Let's talk about the job that Mariska Harris and the Ravenwood Raptors have done this year.
She's doing a great job. I mean, they've really improved and come on strong. I mean, they're definitely one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the district, and they're playing like it. Downey makes a huge difference for them. She's only a freshman, and so going forward after this year, she's going to make a big difference.
Well, anytime you have a freshman or a younger player that's got 2 to 3 years left that is currently leading you in scoring, rebounds, whatever the case may be, it's always beneficial. I know we talk about on the boys' side all the time down at Summit. A kid like John Carter, his brother both have 4 years, if you want to talk about the brother being a freshman left. I know that your team is currently pretty young right now as well. Let's talk about your team moving on to the Summit Franklin game, the battle of the Goodwins, if you will. Round 1 goes to your wife, Carrie Bishop, up there. Franklin ended up winning 49-35. I think the game was a little closer than that. You're sitting in fifth place right now, 6-12, 1-4. I know it's crucial coming up with some of these games coming up, trying to get yourself back to 500 around in the district standings there. Let's talk about that game.
Well, it was 30-26 going into the fourth quarter, so it was close, and then we missed several key defensive assignments going into the fourth quarter, and at the end of the day, they made shots. We didn't make shots. They scored 19 in the fourth to kind of push ahead, made some key free throws that kind of stunted our momentum, and it's always a tough game. Both sets of kids want to win really bad for multiple reasons, and we're trying to kind of get over that hump and move forward and not be the team that is always expected to lose. We've never beat Ravenwood, never beat Franklin, never beat Brentwood, never beat those teams, and so every game, every day is a chance for us to make history, and that's kind of the way we sell it. But not coming out on top doesn't make it any easier, and we hate losing just like anybody else does.
Well, right now you're currently sitting in fifth place, like I said, and if the district tournament was today, you realize that you'd be faced up with Franklin in the first round there for the Goodwin to go home. That game, and I know for your sake, I'd hate to see that matchup because I'd like to see both of you advance. I'd like to see all of our teams advance. But if it was to end it today, that's the way it matches up. Now let's talk realistically. Would you feel pretty comfortable about the team that Franklin, the Lady Rebels, put on the floor, your matchup chances? Do you like that matchup? Do you feel like you'd better be suited to play possibly somebody else? Do you have a goal saying, I would like to play this group first round because we feel pretty confident about it?
Well, I mean, there's nobody that we just want to play. We feel like athlete-wise we match up with just about anybody in the district. Where we start to lose some ground is experience, confidence, those type of things. And those players at those other schools, they have tradition. They have their culture that's already built, and that's something we're trying to build. And so it's frustrating for our girls and for us as a staff trying to build that culture and work your way up to the top of the mountain when the other teams, they just kind of come in with it. They expect to win. They expect to have those experiences.
But isn't it pretty neat, though? It's pretty neat to come back from a blank slate, man. You are writing history as you go. The con of that whole deal is the kids don't know how to win. There's nothing to set the tone for it. So you're actually building and set the tone as you go and getting them to mentally buy into what you're trying to do. And we're going to talk a little bit about the boys' side. And I feel right now with the Summit Spartans sitting at 12-6 right now, I feel like their biggest hurdle is not their athleticism, not their basketball ability, but it's the mental toughness that goes into this. They're not expected to beat the Franklins. They're not expected to beat the Brentwoods. And I don't know why that is, but they don't have anything to rely back on in the past. Well, we've already beaten you. Now they've beaten Centennial before and they've beaten Indy before, and all of a sudden it's comfortable for them to play with they've already beaten Indy. Now you go into a Franklin game or a Brentwood game, possibly a Franklin game that you could win, and then all of a sudden you lose in a close battle. But we're going to talk about that right now. The girls' district standings right now as it sits: Dixon in first place, Brentwood Lady Bruins in second, Ravenwood Raptors in third, Franklin in fourth, Summit in fifth, Indy in sixth, and Centennial in seventh. That is the current girls' district standings as it sits. Now, moving over to the boys' side, we spoke a little bit earlier about what it takes to get yourself ready for the district tournament when your year is not gone as planned. Right now, Fairview's sitting at 1-12, 0-9, have lost 10 in a row. And playing Creekwood, who's putting up three, triple digits per game. They're in a tough district right now. Waverly and Creekwood are by far and away the favorites to win and get second place in that district. Right now you're thinking, if I have to get matched up with those guys in the first round, we're in trouble. If it continues on, maybe putting a game plan together 2 weeks out of how you want to handle Creekwood, knowing everything that they do, trying to throw them off the game, throw everything but the kitchen sink into the game, and you never know what happens. It's why they play the game. That's what they say. They play Santa Fe on Friday. They're sitting at 1-12, 0-9 in the district. Page right now, 8-10, 0-2 in the district. Had not played a district game prior to Christmas, came out, have played 2 games and have lost both. Played Marshall County, lost 56-42, pretty close game there. Outscored 19-7 in third quarter, and shot 45% from free throw line. That's a recipe for disaster. Defensive breakdowns and have free throw percentage going low. Let's talk about real quick about their district. Right now, CPA, Marshall County, Spring Hill, Giles County. Now, Spring Hill, Giles County, not your predominant traditional Spring Hill and Giles County teams. If they were, this might be the best district in AA basketball.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Spring Hill is going to start to improve as they go, because both of the Oden brothers are coming back off injuries, and that makes a big difference from them. When you go 6'3" and 6'5" at the point guard spot, it allows you to compete on a different level that you might not usually.
Yeah, and that makes, I know that Coach Young's been there a long time, and he's been as we say, an old junkyard dog that's been around that district for 25 plus years now, and he won't go down without a fight. I feel like Spring Hill will bump up. They're sitting right now at 6th place, which is last, Page in 5th. Moving on, Brentwood right now ranked 8th in the mid-state, sitting at 18-3, 6-0 in the district. Big overtime win against Ravenwood in the Battle of the Woods won. It was, like I said, a packed house. Despite losing Lawson, their point guard, to injury, he's been in and out of injuries and sickness and all things going on here in the first half of the season. But Grant Teichman, arguably the best player in the district, steps up with 20 big second-half points to lead the Bruins to a win.
That's huge. I mean, we talk about knowing how to win and tradition and culture, and that game goes to overtime because you've got 2 groups who don't know how to lose, and they never think they're going to lose. So, I mean, that's a great game to watch, and you've got big players stepping up and making big plays.
And anytime you have the Battle of the Woods happen, you can throw records out of the window anyways. But it's like you said, right now, Brentwood is coming off back-to-back state tournament appearances. They have a little chip on their shoulder. They have a little swag. They want to get back. Not only do they want to get back, they want to win and make some noise there at the state championship or state tournament. And Grant Teichman right now is garnering looks from just about every mid-major. I know there's some offers on the table right now. Fred Hardman is pursuing him pretty heavily. Martin Mathis is pursuing him pretty heavy. This kid is can flat play. High IQ. It's good solid basketball player. Moving on. Centennial, 6-10, 2-3 in the district right now. Huge win over Indy in overtime. They placed themselves tied for third. They were pretty much almost irrelevant. They lose this game, they have a hard road to come back on. They beat Indy to just make this a complete muddled mess right in the middle of the district right now. They're sitting tied for fourth with two other teams. And to make themselves relevant, congratulations to Coach Johnson there. And then it's like I said, they're sitting at 2-3. Have you had an opportunity to see the Centennial boys play?
I haven't seen them. I've heard a lot about them. And you look up and down this list of the teams in the district, and there's nobody that as a coach you get excited and say, all right, we get to play them. We get to take a day off. Everybody's tough. I mean, you look 2-3, 3-2 all the way down there. I know Indy's dealing with some sickness and some injuries, and that definitely makes a difference. But Centennial's in their first year with a new coach, and they're starting to get in their groove and start to understand their system, and I expect them to improve going down the stretch.
Absolutely. They would be a nightmare, a first-round nightmare. And so would Indy. I mean, Indy's
Right.
gone through this stretch. They've played a tough schedule. They've had some injuries. They get everybody back towards February and get back healthy. What a nightmare matchup. I mean, the Murphy brothers and what they bring to the table. Once again, there's some kids, and they have the kid, the wing that's going to Cincinnati Christian, a little NAIA school up there in Cincinnati, and you got the Murphy boys that are getting some looks right now from some colleges. Indy's sitting right now 11-11, 2-3. You're sitting at 500 overall. Like I said, the lost in overtime there. Right now, Coach Glass is probably ready to pull his hair out. He's sitting there. Lack of depth on the bench hurts him a little bit, but Indy and Centennial right now, I would not want to be matched up with those guys as they come down, as Centennial and Indy and Summit right now are tied for fourth place in the district. Franklin moving on 10-8, 3-2 right now. Sleeping giants.
Absolutely.
And I mean 6-2, 6-3, 6-4. Garrison Matthews had 35 the other night with a big win over at Summit, 71-62. Summit gets down, makes a huge run to get back into it, and they just kind of put the game away. He eclipses the 1,000-point mark for his career. Congratulations to the Lipscomb signee of Garrison Matthews. I'm sure you wish you'd have gone to Belmont, but Franklin right now is just, they're just a big, strong physical team.
They're a tough opponent because they're going to wear anybody and everybody out inside, and they're mostly football players. So they're just now getting into basketball shape and starting to get into their stride where they're going to start getting comfortable with the basketball. Garrison Matthews struggled a little bit early, but I don't know that he missed on Friday against Summit. I mean, 35 is tough to do because Summit will guard you and play some defense, but it's good for a team when you got a 6'5", 6'6" kid and you don't have to put him in the post because you're 6'6", 6'7" across the board inside, and he's a big matchup problem.
Well, we've got about 30 seconds left, Josh, and I'm going to talk real quick about Summit. Summit sitting at 12-6, 2-3. Old Sparty, don't give up. I'm here telling you right now, do not give up. They're at a crossroads right now. Mentally, they're asking themselves, can we compete with the Big Six? Absolutely, you can compete with the Big Six. Not only can you compete with the Big Six, you can beat the Big Six if you come in and play with the right mental attitude. They've never beaten Franklin. They lose to them 62-71. I thought that'd be a possibility of a game that they could have won. They're coming in and playing Centennial here pretty soon. They're sitting right now, district sitting at first place, Brentwood, tied for second, Franklin, Ravenwood, tied for fourth, Indy, Summit, Centennial, and sitting right now in seventh place and last place is Dixon. Like you said, any given night, anybody could win. I feel that Dixon is a pretty big drop off from the rest of the group, but still, anything can happen going in district tournament. Summit plays at Ravenwood this week, which is the WCTV Game of the Week. Page versus CPA, Fairview versus Santa Fe, Brentwood at Franklin, Centennial versus Dixon, and Indy has off. I want to say thank you so much from Josh Goodwin from the Summit, Old Sparty Spartans down at Summit High School. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Jeremy Qualls. This is WCS Game Day. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.